hell of a lot more than that to say. I'm asking people, the point in tonight's meeting, besides to be able to listen to what Jesse has to say, is to get him some support, to make phone calls for him, and to get him some bucks so he can send out a mailer. Good guy. I've met him once. I don't think Paula's here tonight. Paula did one of these um, meetings a week ago, so gave me the guts to get this thing started. Um, some of the people, and I've called people and asked them to be here, and quite a few have said they couldn't. And a buddy of mine ran a check. He's on Social Security. He has car payments, and he ran by $100 check for you, Jesse, and I'll get it to you. And there's a few other people that also are going to send in some dough. So I'm going to leave it there. Jesse, break a leg.
All right. Thank you, Don. And for anybody who doesn't know, Don's one of our great port commissioners and here in Vancouver, and does an amazing job. Thank you. So a lot of you probably haven't met me yet and don't know a whole lot about me, but I am Jesse James, running for Clark County Council, District 3. There are some basic issues that are important to me, from affordable housing, climate change, and public safety. And I'll try to go through each of those things that I think we can work on. When we get to public safety, it's really, I'd like to say public safety / public health. But we'll get to that here in just a moment. The affordable housing issue in Clark County, well, pretty much everywhere in the country, but especially around here lately, is just out of control. I got into this in part because it's been pretty obvious that our many county councilors have been financially supported and elected based on the support from developers and realtors. And these groups have dumped lots and lots of money into these campaigns. And it really seemed to me that there is no incentive to bring the cost of housing down. As the years have gone on, we've watched the housing costs for luxury apartments go down while incomes stay stagnant and regular apartments go up in cost for rents. So something's wrong there. It seems that there's an incentive. Obviously there's a profit incentive. You want to make more money when you build houses, when you build apartments. But we need to get focused on affordable housing. We have people that just cannot move out of their parents' homes. We have people on fixed incomes who, as rents increase and their income doesn't, they're looking at going, elsewhere on the street or moving in with other family. So I want to take this seriously and actually get something done about it. I have not taken any money from the realtors or from any developers. I have spent some time talking with the Building Industry Association and trying to understand their problems, their concerns, and what they feel is keeping housing unaffordable. I agree a little bit with them. However, they lost interest in my campaign when I didn't want to take their money. So my opponent, though, has taken their money happily, and I imagine has said yes to everything they said. But we have some disagreements. Climate change is something that is incredibly important, and the other party, it seems as if the Republican Party just denies it's even a thing, that humans have anything to do with it. I have 2 small children. My oldest is 9 years old. I'm looking at their future, and so I'm looking at the future for everybody right now. Clark County cannot solve climate change, clearly, but there are things we can do. And small steps, but important steps, include making sure our urban growth boundaries are adhered to as much as possible. The more roads we build, the more we're going to emit CO2 into our atmosphere and just exacerbate the problem. I'm looking around, and we're building apartment in my area, in my neighborhood. We have apartments being built everywhere. It seems. Currently, I don't know how much those rents are going to be, but one thing that strikes me is that we need to get to an all-electric economy. We got to get off the fossil fuels, and so we need to start planning that now. And more people with this housing market are going to have to live in apartment-type buildings. If we want people to stop driving fossil fuel cars, we need to get them into electric cars. Well, if you're living in an apartment, most of them around here don't have any ability to charge an electric car when they're parked. So our housing codes, our building codes probably need to be updated for the future. And as we build these places, we probably need to make sure we start building in the infrastructure for charging stations in the parking lots of multifamily housing. That would help make it possible for somebody who wants to drive an electric car to get one. But there are many other things that we can do. And I do support the City of Vancouver's moratorium on fossil fuels expansion. I eventually would like to see that countywide. And then of course there are other things in climate that we can do. But I want to move briefly here or quickly to public safety, because this is a big one. We still have protests going on nightly ever since the killing of George Floyd. And it's a problem that's been much longer than that. And in my opinion, we ask our law enforcement to handle way more than they need to do and way more than they're trained to do. So this brings me to Eugene, Oregon, and the city of Springfield down there. They have a system called Cahoots. It's run by the White Bird Clinic down there. What they are is they are a team of a social worker and a medic, usually a paramedic. These are both people that are very, very highly trained in de-escalating situations and understanding mental health crises. In Eugene, Oregon, for the last couple decades, at least, they have been building this program. 20% of all the calls that they get from emergency calls that their 911 system gets goes to this team. They're not uniformed. They don't carry a badge. They don't carry a weapon. And these people are able to go and deal with situations that otherwise could escalate and be a huge issue for law enforcement. Their efforts have saved the city of Eugene and the city and Springfield and the surrounding area over $8.5 million year after year. There's less overtime for their police force. They're not sending people to their jails, so you don't have to pay for all that extra time in the courts and the jail system. And not just that, but the community as a whole it's estimated to save up to $11 million just in ambulance transportation. So a system like this prevents a lot of issues that can come up. And we don't need our law enforcement to be overworked, overstressed. If there's a different way to deal with a situation, we need to start dealing with it that way. Health. That's why before I said public safety / public health. This is a health issue in most cases. I'm not going to say most cases, but in Eugene, 20% of cases. So the police department, and I've talked to firefighters here locally that said they also get called out on these issues, mental health calls. When the fire department shows up, they have to haul these guys to the hospital because they don't know what to do with them. And when the police shows up, they're getting hauled away to jail because, they also don't know how to deal with them. If we could free the time up for our police officers, that gives them more time for serious training. And of course, we can hopefully bring down the number of violent interactions that occur. Now, we need our police. I'm not anti-police. They have come to my home on an occasion when we truly needed them, and they help protect my family. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm anti-police, but I do think that we need to reimagine policing. Now, City of Vancouver has called the Eugene, since I've started our campaign, I've learned that the City of Vancouver has called the Cahoots, people from the Cahoots program to come talk. And apparently they have also done the same with the Clark County Council. However, that was some time ago and nothing has come of it. I think it's time that we get in there and actually make something happen. Anyway, those are my three basic issues that I'm running on this campaign right now. There are other things that concern me. The one question that comes up a lot is the interstate bridge. I'm of the opinion that we need to replace the bridge we have. But if you have any other questions, if there's anybody out there that would like to ask me some questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them as best I can. I don't know how we do Q&A here on my screen. You're all great.
Raise your hand or unmute their microphone is the best thing.
Yeah.
See, everybody's so tiny I can't see names.
Can you hear me, Jesse?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Tristan Weber. I was curious to hear your thoughts on the replacement of the I-5 bridge and whether or not you would support increased public transport over that, or whether you would support a third bridge across the Columbia. Just give me could you give me your stance on that?
Sure. First of all, the problem we are facing is a bridge that's more than 100 years old, or at least one span of it is. And that's when that bridge is closed and traffic's driving over it, it is the only stretch of road that runs from Canada all the way to Mexico. It's an incredibly important stretch of road, even just for trade, just for getting products back and forth in our state. That bridge, it needs to be replaced. Interesting story. I drive a Volt. I drive a Chevrolet Volt because my last car back in 2012 was rear-ended on that bridge and totaled. My car was totaled. My family was in there. But there's a dangerous hump on that bridge, and that's exactly where our car was totaled. The pilings for that bridge are wood. So that's not going to last forever. And then we got seismic issues. Now, I'm not against having a third bridge, but it makes no sense to build a third bridge before we fix this one. The amount of effort just to pay to build a bridge, just one bridge, is enormous. I mean, we've been going through years now trying to get something done, getting over that Columbia River again. If we were to build a third bridge, not only do you have to come up with all the money to build a bridge, but you're also going to have to come up with money to annex land on either side of those bridges, possibly people's homes. You're going to have to build roadways that attach to another freeway. All of that just starts increasing the cost. And meanwhile, we have a very real chance that we go back down to two bridges because the old bridge is not fit. It's not going to last much longer. We've got to get rid of it and replace it. So I am for replacing the I-5 bridge first. If we can come up with the money later for a third bridge, fine. But I think in the meantime, we build that, we try to make sure we have all the lanes we need. If the community wants it, personally, I would like to see transit, rail transit across, probably from Clark College into Portland, that a whole lot more people can be moved at one time than say, rapid bus transit. However, that might be a community issue. It's that one's pretty controversial as far as light rail goes. But right now, the focus needs to be replacing this bridge. It makes no sense to build a third one until we get the problem in front of us fixed and corrected.
We have a question. We have a question from the audience in YouTube. Jesse, what do you think of ranked choice voting?
I am 100% for ranked choice voting. I think I read, I had some figures. I don't have them in front of me now, so I'm probably going to get the numbers wrong. But prior to this current election, the last two elections for Clark County Council cost quite a bit of money. I don't want to throw the number out now because I'm going to get it wrong. I didn't put it in front of me. But it's really expensive for the county to set up an election. Now, if in this race we had ranked choice voting, you'd only be seeing me now, but we'd also have two other candidates still in the race because there would be no need for a primary election. That can save the county thousands and thousands of dollars every year just by doing that. I think ranked choice voting actually should be the standard throughout the state. Now, my understanding is that there's a bill moving through Washington State now that has to become law before communities can institute ranked choice voting on their own. I'm not sure how solid that is, or if Clark County could actually just say, hey, we want to do it this way, and maybe they can. But I think that bill in the Washington State, and I wish I had that number handy for the bill, but I support ranked choice voting heavily. I think it's a way more fair way to select candidates, and I think it saves money.
Next question, please. That would be car parks.
Yeah, hi, Jesse. I think I talked to you earlier with one of our groups, and I'm really agree with your stances on all of your points, and I'm glad those are the things that are important to you. If you are elected, would you be open to getting the county to develop a climate action plan, which also could include disaster planning?
Yeah. I think our 20-year growth management plan has some climate language in it. However, it's up to the council and the county planners, to actually enforce those kinds of things. And that is something that really, when it comes down to almost every decision that involves the growth management plan, which it really is just about every decision anybody on the council is going to make, I'll be looking at it with an eye towards climate. Now, if we can get a specific action plan together, I will look at it very closely, and chances are I'd probably support something like that, because honestly, our environment is everything. That's how we all survive, and we're running out of time. But to your question, Carrie, right? Carrie, it says car, but I know you're not car.
Very good. You figured it out. Thank you. I appreciate your openness to that.
Absolutely. And one of the hardest things for us to do right now is, of course, I'm not until now, I've never been a politician. So running this campaign, I have an amazing team. And just so everybody knows, so far, every single person on our team is a volunteer. And we have just the most amazing people helping and trying to make this happen. So we rely on everybody else that we talk to help with our events as far as call banking and trying to drop lit. When it comes to dropping lit, we're doing it as safely as we can. Our campaign and everybody in our campaign believes in science we wear our masks when we go out onto the street. We're not knocking on doors to talk to people. Although we would love to be able to do that, we aren't going to do that. So we will drop our lid. And something that could really help us with our campaign is even more volunteers for our events that we put up. And as Don mentioned earlier, right now we're designing our graphics. We have the money now to get some ads in the Columbian, and we need to get that going really fast here. But trying to mail to individual voters here in Clark County is incredibly expensive, and we're not quite there yet. So aside from volunteer efforts, anybody who supports our campaign, if you are able to contribute to our campaign, that would help immensely. So I kind of went off on a different direction. I don't know if there's another question.
Okay.
Okay.
So what is your website?
Sure. It's electjessejames.com. And Jesse James is spelled just like the outlaw or the motorcycle builder. There's no I. And on there, that has the three basic issues that we're running on, and it also has a link to our Facebook page. Sometimes you might find a little more if you were bored and wanted to scroll through the Facebook page. You might find more information and maybe even get a better feel for me. And on our website page, there is a donate button, so feel free to click on that.
So Jesse, is there a volunteer button on there too? So that if people want to be involved in your events, is that the place for them to go, or?
That is a good place. One of the things you can do, you can sign up for our email list. And at the bottom of I'm looking at it, this one I'm looking sideways. There is a little checkbox that says, yes, I'd like to, let me know how I can help if you want to volunteer. However, probably the easiest way is click that Facebook link if you're on Facebook, and just go to our events pages, and all our events so far are posted right there. And you can choose. We're doing at least 2 events, or maybe 3 events every week so far.
More questions.
I have a question. My name is Catherine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, Catherine.
Okay. I just would like you to tell us a little bit more about you, about who you are. Just what do you want us to know about you from a personal level, not necessarily as a politician being on the council and
Sure.
Representing us.
Thank you,
you
Karen. I should have started with that. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Jesse, her name is Kathy.
Kathy. Oh,
Thousands of doors for me to help me get elected. God bless you, Kathy. God bless Kerry Parks and a whole bunch of you. But her name's Kathy.
Kathy.
Tell her
Thank you. Yeah, so Kathy, I've been a resident of Clark County for more than 40 years. My family, when I was a young kid, moved to Battleground. My first school here was Louisville Intermediate, back when it was still a school and open. And I graduated from Battleground High School back in 1985. I was not a jock in school. I was a drama jock. I was a theater guy. So, I still am very close friends with many of the people I went to high school with, especially from the theater program. And it was the time of my life right there back then. After high school, I worked at some retail shops for a little while, and then I joined the Navy. I was a submariner. Matter of fact, the submarine that I sailed on was the USS Blueback. Getting tongue-tied here, which is now an exhibit over at OMSI. So that helps. There's a museum that I was part of, so that kind of gives a better idea of my age, I guess. After that, I did a little bit of everything. I sold insurance for years. I did security work, but that all wasn't satisfying to me. Eventually, I went ahead and decided the sea is where I belonged. So I joined the U.S. Merchant Marines. I sailed out of the Tacoma Hall. I still lived here. I had to travel up to Tacoma to get the ships that I would be assigned to with the Seafarers International Union. And so I traveled the world for about 10 years. That's probably some of the most informative living and working that I've probably ever done. A lot of people don't know what merchant mariners do. So the basic job, you see these ships out at sea, well, they're hauling products from one country or one port to another. And it could be anything. I hauled everything from gasoline to cars to coal to grain, you name it. Pretty much anything that you might have in your home probably moved via ship at some point in time. But a lot of my sailing just happened to be around Africa. So I spent a lot of time in quite a few African nations. And in doing that, it's interesting. People who don't travel, I think, don't know poverty, really. I mean, we can see it on TV. But I've been to many ports. I gave my boots to people. That we had people literally working naked, trying to unload our ships. People who were local out there. And I've watched as we were unloading grain. I've watched people who are nothing but skin and bones take dirt from underneath the conveyor belts and fill them in a bag and hold them up in the air and try to sift all the dirt from rice or whatever grain we were unloading to take that little pile home to their families. I probably don't want to get too much. I mean, there was a lot of that, and that sort of informed a lot of how I feel. And one of the things that I've noticed by going into these towns and spending time with these people and experiencing how the authority kind of worked, everything was corrupt. You'd go into some of these places and you hire a cab, and there was a checkpoint everywhere you went, and that cab driver had to pay a bribe to get me somewhere. So the corruption just was immense. And in the end, it was pretty obvious to see that this poverty is really a result of all this corruption. And that started making me think about home and where we, not just locally, but America, where we could go if we continue to allow corruption just to go unabated and ignored. When I think about some, a dirty politician or a corporation, cheating their way through, something, I start to think about these places that I've been, and I wonder to myself, well, I wonder how many years it takes for us to go that bad. And sometimes I'm a little afraid that it might come sooner than many people would think. So anyway, being a sailor taught me a lot of lessons. But there were a lot of other things. Something that people don't know is that as a sailor, you're a self-contained community out there on a ship. There's nobody to call for help if something goes wrong. So all of us on a ship are professionally trained firefighters. We learn how to do search and rescue. If there is if we spill oil over thank goodness it never happened to us, but we're trained constantly. If we were to spill some oil into the sea, we know how to try to mitigate that as much as possible. So in medical, everybody's a first aid responder because injuries at sea happen all the time and frequently. So you're always up on your first aid. There are a lot of jobs. So when you're a sailor, you wear all of these hats. You're not just, you're not just a sailor. So eventually I got married, found the love of my life, and we had children. And actually, when I talk about that time, the police had to come and protect my family. That happened while I was doing additional training for my job. I was on the East Coast at the time. And that brought into my career, which was not long ago. So I needed to be home with my family, help keep them safe. Plus it's nice because now I don't miss them so much, except for, when on the weekends or something, if they go away for a day or two. But I'm not gone for so many months. After that, I gave working at a casino a try. I opened up Elan Casino. I was one of the first dealers there. I was there on opening day. Worked there for a year and did my best to give it a try, but it clearly, that job and me were not suited. So it takes a special person. Tip your dealers. It takes a special person to work at a casino. And so I've done a little copywriting in between them. And now, of course, I've decided, well, it's time to serve my community if they'll have me. That was long-winded, wasn't it?
No, that was very good. Very good. Do you, more questions? Anybody out there?
Yeah, Jesse, if I may be so greedy, I have another question for you. So you said you're a father. I've met you have two wonderful children, and I just wanted to ask, what kind of world would you like to leave them, if you think about that?
Well, I want to leave them a world where they don't have to think twice about breathing the air, drinking the water. I want them to be able to have a home and not have to struggle. It's outside of county politics, isn't it? But we've been at war forever, it feels like. I would sure like them to be able to live in a world without all this war. But mostly I want them to have a good life. I want everybody. I think everybody should be able to have the food and the shelter they need, and to be happy, and to be able to work at jobs that they love, and not have to be forced into surviving by doing something they hate every day. So I hope sometime we can get to that point. And when it comes to my own kids, I just want them to be happy and healthy. But I think that's what I want for everybody. Happy, healthy people. What more could you ask for? But we have to do a lot of work to make that happen. We have to take care of the planet we live on. We have to take care of the waters that we live near. And when we see people who are struggling, when you see somebody who is homeless and on the street, our community owes it to them to do what we can to help them if they will take the help.
Next question, please.
God, I love the questions that I'm listening to. They're revealing all sorts of things that I rarely feel like I get to know anybody better over a computer screen. And this is good. I didn't expect to get to know you better tonight, Jesse. You did a hell of a job. And just before somebody comes up with a question or what have you, one, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to thank everybody for being active and involved in caring about the community. And I specifically, and Dorothy will know what I'm talking about, and I can't see anybody else's face, so I really don't know who else is here. It's a pain in the ass to run for office and to run around and beg people for money and to do these things. And sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. I want to thank you for doing this, Jesse. And I'm hoping that we can push you along. And before I give up the microphone, when y'all get free of this, we need to raise a few $1,000s for him to get his mailer out. It's a critical thing, and the ballots are about to fall. And so it's really critical to get the mailer out there to get people's attention. He's not as good at getting the dollars, whether it's from the building industry, from the corporations. Is one, he's a little different sort of a candidate, and two, he's brand new, and we need to back him up. Please, when you get, go from here to his website and give him some bucks or volunteer, and I will go back and make phone calls for you, Jesse. I'll be quiet. I'm hoping somebody has more questions. You guys are asking questions to kind of open this guy up and force him to tell us who he is. So I'll be quiet now.
Hey, thank you, Don. And thank you for running your campaign. I remember you came and knocked on my door, and I got to talk to you. That's not very many politicians knocked on my door that year, but you were one of them. And boy, you sure got that vote, and I'm so glad you won.
Marcia Manning, I know you have to have a question. What do you got?
Let's get her unmuted here. One moment.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Got
Marcia.
me unmuted.
Yep, there you go.
Hey, this is my first time to listen to Jesse talk. I may tell you that I am definitely a strong supporter. I made my donation before I got on the call. I know how important it is. I live in this district. How important it is that Jesse win this race. We cannot have a Bowerman sitting in our county council. That is the most important thing we all need to think about right now. We have just a month to do this, and it's a lot of work because they are throwing money at her. She has outside influence. She has Republican state party support. I'm sure everybody on this call is probably familiar with that, but I can't emphasize how important this race is right now. So I don't really have any questions. I'm glad to listen in, and I really appreciate you spending that time with us today, Jesse.
Thank you so much, Marcia. I sure appreciate that. And thank you for your contribution.
I have been reworking your button, though. I'll talk to you about that privately. If you like them, I'm going to take them down to the office. So,
Okay, sounds good.
She's amazing. She made all of my buttons too. I didn't even see it till this very instant, Marcia. Thank you.
we don't have as much opportunity for them to be seen now since we're all sitting in our houses. But we still do get out. We can still wear those buttons. We can still let voters see, even if it's just subliminally, what we're doing. It's important that everybody get one, put it on for the little bit of time that you're out. It reaches more places than signs. Signs are important. I do see those out. Jesse's done a great job of those in the district. For us who drive up and down 164th all the time, the signs are there. So that's good, but I still need to wear the buttons.
And buttons are awesome. I'd love to see what you're reworking. But as far as signs, just so if anybody wants to know, we did just get a whole bunch of new ones, and pretty much all of our signs along 192nd have, well, almost up until a few weeks ago, all of our signs seem to disappear no matter where we put them. But 192nd is almost completely devoid of our signs now. I think we got one there that I saw yesterday. So we're going to try to get some more out. But if you have a place that you would like to have a sign, send me an email or a text message or instant message from Facebook, whatever. We'll make sure we get you one.
We like to have the signs out where we have sign stewards in somebody's yard, in some place where they can watch them to make sure that they don't get taken down. So
That's true. Every sign in front of my house, 5 of them, and it took a bit for them to walk through and pick them up, but they drove step by step and picked up every sign that was in my yard just this past week. So we're replacing them. I'll need another sign. They're bad this year.
I'm sorry, Marcia, that happened.
It's shocking that it's you expect kids to take 1 or 2, but this was a concentrated effort to get in and out of a vehicle as many times as they had to pick up those signs. And so I know they're nervous. Let's keep them nervous. Let's put the signs back up.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Excellent.
replacing Jesse's with his opponent's signs.
Yeah. You can almost tell that from what shows up. That's right.
I placed several of them, and I know that when I've gone back to see where they were replaced with the
His
opponent's
opponent's.
sign. So
Right.
the exact same place.
So they are nervous.
Yeah. Let's keep them nervous.
Jesse, we have some participants in some of the other platforms, YouTube, and they're asking from a national standpoint, do you think we can move candidate Biden to be more progressive with enough pressure? That's kind of a legitimate question. I hear that quite a bit. What's your opinion on that?
I think I'd like to think that we can. I know that he does say he's concerned about the environment. So I prefer the Green New Deal myself. However, any movement at all, environmentally speaking, to me is a good thing. So I think pressure there is going to help. The hard part is, personally, I think we need Medicare for all. I think that healthcare should be a right. I think we should all be able to avoid going bankrupt when we get sick. So, unfortunately, though, with the national politics, it seems like we're hard pressed finding somebody who will champion that. So I'm not sure. I think the important thing is to start low. Let's start electing people at local levels, state levels that are progressives, that want these things, and do our best to move them up the chain and get those people in a position of power where they can make it happen sooner than later. I support Biden. I wish that he were more progressive for my taste. He wasn't my first choice, but he's getting my vote. So I do like him. I think he's a good guy, but I would prefer him to be more progressive. I think we could pressure him to move in the right direction for a lot of these things, but it's going to take pressure from politicians below his level to be pushing him. And the only way to get those people in is us.
You have a question from the UK, Chris Foster. If you manage to achieve success at a local level, would you consider running for higher office or forming support alliances with other like-minded counselors in other districts? Thank you, Chris Foster.
Wow. Well, I haven't given any thought whatsoever to running for any office higher than this. So I'll leave that at that. As far as alliances, I don't know. I mean, it depends on I guess it would depend on what the situation was. But if lending my support to a counselor in another district was something that was going to benefit both districts, the people of both districts, well, I might, but I don't know how that would actually work out.
Fair enough. Yeah, you've got a lot of action from across the country, these other states. Like I said in the chats, this is a local down ballot election. Jesse James is running for county councilor. Is that correct, in Clark County?
Yes, in District 3.
District 3. Okay, yeah, a lot of interest here. People are talking in the chats. Thank you again, everybody, for putting this on. Dawn and everybody in the chat. It's been great. Let's finish up with a couple of good questions for Jesse. We've got about 10 minutes left. Okay, don't everybody jump at once here. Okay, Carrie Parks.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right. Jesse, I haven't looked at your page in a while. Do you have a list of endorsers there?
I do. And I could, I mean, if I don't bore you, I could read off some of them. That's something just today, Justin Oberg is our web guy. But there is now a form on there. If you would like to endorse our campaign, you can actually fill out a form. Actually, do I need to refresh my page? Oh, there it is, I think. Yeah. There's a form on there, so if you'd like to endorse our campaign, you can do that yourself, and then we'll add it later. But so far, Mayor Ann for the City of Vancouver, she has endorsed our campaign. Mike D'Alessandro from Battleground has endorsed us. Of course, Don Orange, Jack and Shirley Berkman, another one of our great port commissioners, and Eric LeBrun. So all 3 port commissioners are supporting our campaign so far. Sharon Wiley, Chuck Green, Betty Sue Morris, David McDonald, and William Robinson are a couple of attorneys that have also endorsed our campaign. Organization-wise, Clark County Democrats, Sierra Club, Fair Vote Washington, which is the ranked choice voting, Our Revolution, which really helped get our much of my campaign team are people who support Our Revolution, and that's just something that's real special to me. Sunrise Movement, Washington State Progressive Caucus, Clark County Democratic Women, Fuse Washington, Washington Progressive Party, the IBEW 45, the electricians, and ILWU, International Longshoremen and Warehouse Union, all support us, including the Young Democrats as well. So we have a lot of endorsements, a lot of support. We of course would love to have more, and we were a little slow getting our website up for people to add endorsements. So of course, now that we've got that up today, we'll be adding more of those as well.
Okay, next question, please. Who's got the next question? Dorothy, you're awful quiet over there. You got a question? Anybody?
I had to step away, so I don't know if it's already been asked. But I will definitely, it's not a question, but a definite ask to everybody on here and watching to make sure that you contribute to Jesse James' campaign. You know, these things cost money, and especially in these times when we can't knock on doors, Jesse needs to get mailers into those households. So, you know, if it's $5, $10, up to $1,000, whatever you can afford, you know, throw Jesse James some money. And if someone can, in the various places people are streaming this, drop a link to his campaign, that'd be awesome. And make sure you guys chip in a bit so we can get some sane leadership on the council and give Temple Lentz someone else who isn't crazy.
Good point there, Dorothy. We do have one more question from the YouTube chat this time. This is from Adam Well. This is in this. I'm going to just give the straight question. Do you support the movement for a People's Party after this, and they're parsing it, settle for Biden election? A lot of people feel like this. What's your feeling on that?
Well, you know, I would love to see a third party, a fourth party. I'd love to see things more represented eventually. I am not as familiar as probably I should be with the People's Party. But it was interesting. I remember being in Italy during an election year, and every street you went on, there were people flying flags and signs from a different party. There must have been 100 different political parties in Italy. I'm not saying we should go the route Italy is going, but it was amazing to me to see the diversity of political opinion there. And I would like to see our country get a little bit more diverse as far as politics comes. We are too many people for just two parties, I think. But to answer the question directly, I don't know if I would support that specific party. For right now, I think the most important thing that we can do is get Donald Trump out of this White House. And right now, the only way that's going to happen is a vote for Biden. So that's where I am today.
Good response there. Thank you. Got time for a couple more questions from the chat group here. Somebody want to step up and grab a question? Leah, are you waving your fingers? Do you want to ask a question? No.
She does, but she's not sure of the question.
I'm not sure what question I want yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm really concerned about the budget because we're really in a downfall right now because of Medora Milky and what they left us.
So, budget question. So the one that comes up the most is when I was in the editorial board for the Columbia newspaper, the question was asked if we would support the 1% property tax increase. Karen Bowerman was absolutely no new taxes. John Blome, who's no longer in the race, was maybe. Looking at it, to me, we have to take that 1% increase. Now, maybe something would change after I got in there and we were able to see, different numbers. But for right now, our county runs on a shoestring budget. And it's important that people understand that a 1% increase is not a 1% increase on your property. You're not going to get a 1% increase on your property tax. It's a 1% increase on the budget. That 1% is spread out to every property owner in the entire county. So you're going to have a little fraction. We looked at ours, and I'm going to get the cents wrong, but it was about $4.30 or something like that. The last time they increased, did the 1%. So basically 1 cup of Starbucks coffee a year in order to have safe food at restaurants, in order to have our roads, in order to make sure our water was clean and our lakes were not, that our lakes were safe for you and maybe even your dog to swim in. Our law enforcement, everything a county provides. I can handle a cup of coffee once a year. I'll give my government a cup of coffee a year if they'll keep these things going. But not only did my opponent want to say no to this tax, she said she wanted to cut, well, in her words, feel-good programs. Personally, I can't think of a feel-good program that we have. We have programs that we need, especially when it's funded out of the general fund. However, when pressed on it, she couldn't name a single thing that she would cut. She says that in the Columbian, you can go back and watch the video, or just read the Columbian story that summarized it pretty well. But apparently we have to elect her to find out what she's going to slash and burn. I don't want anybody to be overtaxed. Nobody should be overtaxed, and what's more important is that our tax money needs to be useful. It needs to go towards things that have purpose for our community. I don't see where we can start cutting those things right now. So we're going to have some shortfalls, even if we. Sorry, I got a phone ringing somewhere, but we're going to have shortfalls because of the COVID, and property taxes aren't coming in. I honestly feel that businesses that were mandated to shut down by the state, I think the state should, first of all, the county should not collect taxes. They should prorate them for that time those businesses were shut down. Just prorate them. But the county still needs that money. It was a state mandate. The state should go ahead and reimburse the county in some way for those lost revenues so that we can keep services going. So I don't think the business owners should be penalized. It gets a little more complicated when it comes to homeowners, but there should also be programs there for people who are unemployed in order to keep them from losing their homes. And if they weren't working, well, maybe there needs to be a tax holiday, at least for a while, or at least a prorating system put in place, and a schedule where a tax isn't due all at once, where people have time, they're not pressured. in order to pay those taxes. So that all gets kind of complicated, and I don't know, got to go in there and there's more to learn about that. But when it came down to it, between my opponent and I don't have a desire to slash and burn our government and let it fall to the wayside. I think we need the services that are provided at this point.
That's sure a telling tale with your.
I have something else, Dawes, when you're done.
Okay, the anti-tax rhetoric coming from the ultra-conservative, anti-populist right is ever present, and it's getting old to all of us. So I really appreciate that response. I wanted to give a shout out. You have a donation from Vermont from one of our best, one of our gleaners at Uphill Media, Al Walski, sent $10 through PayPal. It was a little tricky, so I don't know if that's something we can take care of. And Brent McKinney has a question here real quick, Leah. Let me get this in because this is the last one we'll take from our chat. Jesse, what are your thoughts on the climate change? And thank you, Al Walski.
Yes, thank you, Al. My thoughts on climate. Well, first of all, I think human beings are having an effect. I believe in science, and I think when all the scientists agree, something's got to be a little bit off with you if you're going to disagree with them. Maybe if one scientist said something and they were all over the board saying different things, I could see where somebody can have an argument on climate change. But when everybody is agreeing, who are experts in their fields, people that spent their entire lives learning how systems work, who am I to disagree with them? My response is that you listen to them and then take the precautions that are recommended, just like COVID, where doctors agree, wear your mask. Well, maybe you should wear the damn mask. When climatologists tell us CO2 is going to kill us, well, maybe we should stop producing so much CO2. That's my view. I kind of talked about climate change earlier, might have missed a little bit of that, but I believe that climate change is a thing that we must address. I think it's actually, as far as humanity is concerned, it is the number one issue.
All right, Leah, your follow-up.
Okay, my concern about the raise of property tax is that people who own property will raise the rent on people who can't really afford it right now.
Well, again, that 1% equates to, and it's different for everybody. If we're still building a lot of houses, if there's still a lot of new construction going on, there's actually people, last time they raised the 1%, a lot of people had their taxes actually go down. Because of all the new construction, there was more people to spread that 1% out amongst. Because so remember, the individual doesn't pay 1%. The county's budget just goes up 1%, and then it is just diluted by everybody else in the county. So it is very little. And in the cases where people have hardship, there are programs in place with the county to help with those, to defer some of that tax. Now, there's a trade-off. If you're on a fixed income, if you're on Social Security, and now you qualify for one of those programs, well, that person's good. They're not going to have to pay more than they can. But the rest of us make that up. But again, now if we're sharing the burden for that one person or, a few people, that's again shared amongst all of us. So it's a very, very small amount of money.
Jesse, can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
I have gone off to take care of some personal business with my wife needs some attention. I would kind of like to ask you to address. You said that you spent time going to ports in Africa. My understanding is that the lowest tax rates in the world are in Somalia. Would that be a place where you would want to raise your children? Do they have good programs? Do they have safe school buses and that sort of thing in a country with the lowest tax rates in the world? Is that a good thing? And I have to go because my wife's calling.
Okay, please go take care of your wife. I will answer your question though. I didn't of all the
people. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Of all the African countries I went to, oddly enough, Somalia was not one, but I went to their neighbors, Djibouti and Kenya, which are next door, a little further down, Mozambique. To his point, no, I would not recommend that.
All right, we're wrapping it up. I do want to give a shout out to Brent McKinney. Brent, he missed something. I came late. Thanks, Jesse. I'll donate to match Al Walski's donation. So you made an impression on the chats. And I want to thank you and everybody that got me on this presentation today. I appreciate it because the power is with the people, and let's keep it that way. Closing statement, Jesse, please.
Gosh, I should have prepared one, huh?
Oh, no, just be yourself like you've been this whole presentation. This is what we like. We don't like career politicians. We like people that are going to go in and do the job that we, the people, need. And you sound like you're one of them.
Well, thank you so much, Oz. I appreciate what you're doing and helping put this together and make it happen. And thank you to everybody who joined in and had the wherewithal to listen to me. I kind of blabber sometimes, I think, but thank you so much. We want to win this race. We're in it to win it, and we will win it. But it takes help from everybody. So anything you can do to help advance our campaign, please get your friends, your neighbors, your family involved. Make sure everybody you know is registered to vote. Our race might be on the back side of the ballot. Heck, there are so many offices this time, there may be 2 pages to the ballot. Please vote down the entire ballot and remind everybody you know to do the same. It's so important. I believe this race was lost 1 year. Everybody voted up at the top, but when you got down to the counselor positions, very few people voted compared to those who voted for at the top of the ticket. So gotta mark all those boxes. Let's get them down. And spread the word. If you go on Facebook, if you see a post you like, please share it. We're not allowed to advertise on Facebook. They don't let us do that, but anything can be shared as many times as they want. So that might help a little bit. And gosh, just thank you so much. I appreciate that all of you took the time this evening to be with us.
The chats agree with you. They say thank you, Jesse. And again, thank you to everybody that put this together. And have a great evening. We're going to sign off now. Beauty and the Boomer at 7 p.m. Pacific. Join Shanda and myself. We're going to have a little fun tonight. Let our hair down. Well, in my case, that'll be really hard. But everybody have a great evening. Thank you so much. And thank you, Al Walski and Brett McKinney, for your donations. Talk to you soon and knock it out of the park for us, Jesse.